I read 12 books in November, which is fantastic for me. I love that for me. I think that's 2 months in a row we've read about that much. But what I will say about October is that the reads were so unpredictable. Like we had as low as 1 star and as high as 5 stars. We had the full range happening this past month. I also feel like I was a lot pickier. I don't know if it was the vibes of the season. I don't know what it was, but I was being a picky girl. I was also fighting off a reading slump, I feel like. Like every book kind of made me feel like, oh, am I going into a reading slump? And then I would proceed to not be in one, but it's like it was almost there lingering in the back of my brain. So November, we're doing everything we can to fight that, okay? But I also feel a lot less pressure going into November and December this year because I'm officially caught up on my reading goal. I think I only need to read 12 left for the whole year, which I feel like is super doable. Besides the fact that some of the books on my TBR for the rest of the year are like 1,000 pages. That is neither here nor there. I actually didn't count this towards the 12. I don't count books I don't finish towards my reading goal, and I DNF'd Collided at 70%. This is Collided by Lauren Asher. And I actually didn't plan to DNF it. I was just going to push through because like 70% is a lot of wasted time. But my Libby hold expired and I literally did not care enough to just pick up my physical and finish it. So DNF'd it was. Could I tell you what it was about? Not really, because I remember it being basically a copy and paste of the first book, just a slightly more fun female character. Once again, it's F1, so like it's cool. If you like F1, you may really like these, but they were just kind of basic to me. There was nothing special about them, nothing redeeming, so there was no motivation to read them. Also, I'm not going in the order that I read these because I don't feel the need. Moving on, we have The Intruder by Frida McFadden. This was fantastic. This book basically is about a girl who lives in like a pretty secluded house. Like she does have neighbors, but they're pretty far away. And there's this major storm coming and she's been warned, but she decides she's going to stick it out even though her house does not feel like it's up to take it on a storm like that. She decides to stay home anyways until she hears something in the backyard and finds a girl in her shed covered in blood and she invites her in. Can you really call it an intruder? In that case, who knows? But in typical Frida fashion, we have like our dual timelines. We've got before, we've got now, multiple different people. What I really liked about this one is I feel like you didn't get a lot of different people that you're like, oh, this could be this person or this did, like, there's not that many characters. And sometimes I find in thrillers specifically, you'll get like an influx of characters basically to give you a red herring in some way. Whereas this, I feel like wasn't like that. Like you were more so trying to figure out how we got from point A to point B. And I didn't guess the twist on this one. And I loved it. I feel like this felt like older Frida books. I think I gave this 4.5 or like 4.25. I don't remember, but I definitely recommend it, especially if you're somebody who has like steered clear of Frida because you haven't enjoyed her recent works. I think you will like this one. It very much gave the same vibe as Neverlie, where there's like a storm outside. And I know a lot of people love Neverlie. It's like their favorite Frida book. Moving on to something that's so unrelated to fall in every single way. It's Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animal by Megan Quinn. I read this book on audio because I got it as an e-arc and I wanted to read it before it came out, and I did, and I loved it. I didn't love it as much as How My Neighbor Stole Christmas, which is the first book in this little series. Megan Quinn really can't do any wrong. There was just like a couple things in this I didn't love. The premise of this is that our main female character basically comes to this small town to get a second chance. Her uncle's giving her the second chance to run a business because the business she was running, a Christmas store in her city, failed and she had to close. So when she moves here, the uncle's like, hey, I want to open this Christmas farm. But this Christmas farm that he wants to open is going to be right next to a very successful Christmas farm in this small town run by our MMC. And their meet cute is really sweet, but they don't realize that they're about to be rivals. And I loved this. I thought it was really cute. And our MMC will literally die for her, for sure. He would die for her fish, really. And they do some fun things with some fun foods. We've got popcorn garland. And then we also have chocolate covered cherry situations. So can never look at those things the same, but I'm not mad about it. I believe I gave that one 3.75 stars. Mate by Ellie Hazelwood. This took the internet by storm. I feel like people who didn't even like Bride were obsessed with this. Everybody was definitely saying that they were preferring this one over Bride. And if you don't know, basically in this universe, werewolves, humans, and vampires all live like cohesively, kind of like they have their own lands. They all know that the other exists. They are trying to kind of stay harmonious and not kill each other, but things just they're always a little bit messy between the vampires, the wolves, and the humans. In this one particular, we get introduced to our main female character and our main male character like right away, and they are mates. And well, she's his mate, and we know that right away, but he is not her mate. So that adds some complications and some difficulties here. She's got a lot of secrets that she's hiding throughout this entire book. And I liked that element, but what I didn't love about this book in general compared to the first book was I felt like a lot of the problems that were happening in this book and the problems that our main character was facing were just solved like instantly and very easily, which felt kind of lazy. It was like, oh, here's a problem. Okay, solution, done, cool, fun. I just wanted a little bit more to the puzzle, you know, to like actually make them work for it. But the yearning's great. There's a lot of tension. It's a very slow burn. So if you like a slow burn, you will like this. I gave it 4 stars. Still had a great time. I love Allie Hazelwood. If It Makes You Happy is one of my favorite reads of the year probably, but definitely for fall. This is by Julie Olivia. Easy 5 stars for me. I absolutely loved this. We have our main character whose mother has just passed away, and now she has to go and take care of this inn in this small town. Kind of like more like a bed and breakfast, I guess, but her sister's supposed to take it over, but her sister needs to finish school, so our main character goes and decides that she's going to take over, but she has no experience, and it's very quickly realized that she does not have the people skills required for a job like this. But you know who does? This single dad that lives next door that was actually close to her mother and knew her mother very, very well. Her mother used to watch his daughters, and she basically asks him for help and says like, I need help because I'm not a people person. I don't know what I'm doing. And she also can't bake to save her life, and he just happens to be the baker in town. He's got a little bakery. I loved this. I thought it was so freaking cute. I loved the element of him trying to find what her like favorite dish was and her favorite baked good is. I just thought that was so cute and a nice added touch. And the epilogue in this, it actually made me tear up. Like I'm an epilogue skipper. I don't even like epilogues most of the time. This one, is so well done. I will definitely be picking up more by Julia Olivia. This was fantastic. If you have not read it, I feel like it's not too late because this book does go over the fall but also into the winter. So you actually get multiple holidays. You get Halloween, you get Thanksgiving, you get Christmas. So it's perfect for literally any time now. Okay, like this is the time to read it. I actually finished it on Canadian Thanksgiving when they were having Thanksgiving in the book. I was reading it and I just thought that was such a nice touch. Now on a bad note, Tell Me Softly by Mercedes Ron. I got this as an ARC from Bloom and I feel bad like trash talking it because I feel like maybe this is for somebody. But all I can say about this is that it was 1 star. Mercedes Ron is a Wattpad sensation, so her books were not published originally by publishers. They were just on Wattpad and they blew up on there, but it was also, I believe, translated. So I think it was Spanish originally on Wattpad. Like if you go on the reviews on Goodreads, most of them are not in English. So I don't know if it being translated has anything to do with how much I did not enjoy this. I thought that our main male character was super creepy. The fact that he was like entertaining the idea of making out with teenage girls in high school when he's 20 years old just rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I do feel like I understand the relationship between him and our female main character, even though she's younger, because they grew up together and you know they were childhood crushes. So I feel like it made it less ew that way. Our introduction to him is awful and he's also just super unlikable, obviously. He's harboring a very big grudge over our female main character. The whole premise of this is basically a love triangle between a girl and 2 brothers. Very typical trope. We've seen this before. It's just done in such a not great way because I feel like the entire book you know who she's gonna choose even though you know she shouldn't choose him. I would say it's not worth your time. Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by Clay McLeod Chapman. Unfortunately, I'm so sad to say that I actually decided not to rate this book this month. If you saw my only reading horror books for a week vlog, I read this and I regretted reading this. There were things in this book I was not expecting, and yes, it's horror, so you should expect to see some disturbing things. I just honestly didn't even know that this was a trigger for me until I read it because I have never read that in a book before. Therefore, I did not know that it would trigger me like it did, and it would make me feel as physically ill as it did. It's basically about a man who has kind of become estranged from his family a little bit because his family always just acts very strange and gives him some weird vibes recently. So he hasn't seen them in a little bit, but he keeps getting these weird calls from his mother, and then he gets one call that just kind of sets him on edge, so he decides he's gonna go investigate, and he goes to their house to go see what's going on. When he gets there, the house is dark, it's dirty, it's disgusting, all the food's rotten, the TVs all over the house are on and blasted to this news channel that keeps talking about waking up and opening your eyes. The Great Awakening is happening. He does eventually find his parents, and it almost seems like they're in like a zombie-like trance. This is like an apocalypse book meets more deeper topics like propaganda and social media and news and believing things on the internet and just things like that. I loved the premise and I actually loved the execution of the book. I feel like it was executed great. And I feel like if the things in this book that happened didn't make me as upset as they did. I feel like I would have probably rated this quite highly because I had a general enjoyable time until those things occurred, and then I just couldn't get past it. So definitely look into trigger warnings on this book if it's something you're interested in, but you know there might be something that offsets you a little bit. What I can tell you is it's definitely dark, and it definitely has some pretty sick and twisted things in it, as you expect from a horror book. A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher is another horror book that I decided to read in that vlog, and I did not like this one either. I gave this 2 stars. It only got 2 because I loved the premise of it, and it did give me like the gothic horror vibes that I was looking for. In this book, we have a girl who gets a call from her brother basically saying, hey, I'm worried about mom. She's acting weird. Things just seem off with her. So she decides she's going to go and stay with her mom to kind of see what's going on. And when she gets there, not only is her mom weirdly acting, but she's lost weight. She's changed things in the house, like things that she would never think to change. There's just clearly something wrong with her mom. My biggest issue with this is that it is very boring. It felt like I read a 600-page book when it was less than 300 pages. The pacing was terrible, very slow. So many plant and bug, insects, and dirt facts, so many weird things. Like, I understand a couple here and there to prove the point that our main character is a biologist, but to continue just to give these random facts the entire book that nobody cares about and actually means nothing to the story is just very monotonous, honestly. And then the end was so wild and random that I had no idea what was going on, and I literally could not explain to you how this book ended because it made no sense to me. I also knew what was going on the entire time. I feel like there was supposed to be an element of like a twist, like you're not supposed to understand what's going on and what's happening, but I kind of knew the whole time what the twist was. So I don't know if it was meant to be a twist, but it didn't work. Never Over by Claire Gilmore. This was one of my favorite reads of the month, if not my favorite read of the month. This is about a girl who is a songwriter. Well, she's an aspiring songwriter, so she wants to do that as a career. She went to school for it. She finally thinks she's getting her big break, but the man who wants to publish her music tells her her lyrics are weak and that they aren't very good. So she basically decides that instead of publishing right there and then, she wants to improve her lyrics, and she knows that the only time she's ever been able to write like deep, meaningful lyrics is after she got her heart broken by Mr. Liam Bishop. So she scouts him out to basically go out with her again so that he can re-break her heart so that she can write lyrics like she did before. The premise of this was kind of weird to me. I was like, what do you mean you want him to re-break your heart? That's weird. That's odd. But the funny thing is like it's very clear as soon as she meets up with him that he kind of still harbors those like feelings for her and hasn't really moved past it, which is why he's more willing to do this. And the funny thing is he goes to do it not really with the intention of breaking her heart. Like, he wants it to work. He's a manager of like a concert tour situation. I don't really know like the exact title of that. So he's managing a tour right now, and he's supposed to be going cross country with this tour. So she goes with him. So you get a lot of travel and different places in America, which was really, really fun to read about, especially living in Canada. And some of the things, like, I have so many quotes highlighted in this book because I loved it so much, and I already miss these characters, and I'm really excited because I know this is an interconnected series. So she already has 2 other books. This is the youngest sibling, which is another reason I loved this, because both of our characters are the youngest siblings, which I just thought was such a nice touch because I'm a youngest sibling. So I felt like I could really connect with them on a lot of things. But there is still 2 other books in this that are already out that are about the older sisters, I believe. So I'm excited to read those as well. I highly recommend this one. It was phenomenal. The Heartbreak Hotel by Ellen O'Clover. This book's about a girl who gets cheated on by her long-term boyfriend and doesn't want to have to leave the house that she lives in because she loves this house. It feels like a part of her, but she can't afford to live in this house. It is way too expensive. It's in like a beautiful mountainous area in Colorado. So she makes a deal with the landlord basically that she will turn it into a bed and breakfast for the heartbroken, and he'll make the profit and she'll just get to live there for free. To her, that's worth it. My issue with this book the most was that it started off so strong and I was loving it. Our female main character had so much personality and she was so relatable and so fun. And then you meet our main male character and he is literally as plain as a cardboard box. There is nothing to him. He has no personality. And later you do learn some things about him that kind of make you understand a little bit why he is a little sad, you know? Like, you can clearly tell he's a little sad, and you do kind of learn why eventually, which redeems him a little. And then all of a sudden at the end, he just starts gaslighting her. To me, what he did was just It made me dislike this man so much. To me, what he did was just not redeemable. I feel like when you have a third act breakup and you want the couple to end up together, the thing that causes that third act breakup has to be, first of all, it has to make sense, which it did, but it also has to be redeemable. Like, it has to be something that you can forgive. And I don't think I could forgive him, to be honest. Maybe our main character is just stronger than me, but I couldn't do it. I gave that book 3 stars because first 50%, fantastic, loved it. I just didn't like our MMC, which really should warrant a lower rating, but I think I was just being generous. I think I was being nice. I'm hoping I can beat my camera dying. I really hope. To Bargain with Mortals by R.A. Basu. This is a fantastic debut, first of all. This was amazing. This is the first book in a duology. Basically, we have Poppy, who is adopted into a white family who's very, very high in power. When she finds out that the man that she's supposed to be marrying is actually just using her for a whole other agenda, she tries to flee, but when that happens, she gets abducted by a man who kind of comes from the same culture as her, but he's known as a jackal. He's like a criminal in this world, and everyone knows him as a criminal, but he kidnaps her because he needs her as leverage to get something that he wants from her family. This book was so impactful. It touches on colonization and its effects. It touches on racism, sexism, and how important it is to feel like you belong somewhere. I loved this so much, and I loved the way that our characters developed together. And also I loved that this wasn't a romantasy. I mean, I feel like there is potential for romance in the second book, but I don't read a lot of books that don't have some element of romance unless it's a horror or a thriller. So to not actually have romance this book was a very interesting difference for me, a good change. But it kind of was nice because I could focus on just the story. I do think there is potential for a romance in the next book. I don't know for sure, but this one I would definitely say is more of a rivals to allies. And there's also elemental magic in this book, which I thought was really, really fun. A nice touch. I love elemental magic, especially the way it was done in this book. It being very, very useful and necessary to the story. Overall, absolutely amazing. Highly recommend. Then we have Fall I Want by Lyra Parrish. Now this was just I don't know, it felt like kind of a Hallmark movie, except fall and really spicy for no reason. Now, I'll give them that the spice was actually kind of fun. Like, I'm usually a spice skipper. I had a good time with this one. We basically have a girl who always wanted to be a writer. She works at a little coffee shop in this small town. I loved making the coffees with her also. But for the longest time, she's been having these dreams of this man. And then one day this man walks into her coffee shop, tastes her coffee, and says it tastes like shit and walks out. She soon realizes that he lives in this house that's like on this hill that is known to be haunted in this area. And she obviously wants to investigate that a little bit. And their paths cross, obviously. My biggest issue with this book, I gave this book 3 stars because of the vibes alone. They were perfect fall vibes. I loved the coffee shop. Literally the fastest, most insta-lovey book I've ever read. I also don't understand why he was an asshole, but then all of a sudden he's not. Like, it was like they wanted to make it a grumpy sunshine without the effort of actually making him a grumpy character because he was grumpy once for no reason. It's also a billionaire romance, which I felt was so random. Their exes in this book, like they both have exes that are involved in this story somehow, and they felt unnecessary. I did not understand why they were around. There was just a lot. This book was a lot, but I feel like if you want like a fun fall cozy book, this is a great option. It's just a fun time and that's it. That's what you need to realize going into it. And lastly, we have Secret Haven by Catherine Cowles. This is the last book in the Sparrow Falls series. I'm not going to get into it too much because, like I said, it's the last book in the Sparrow Falls series, but we're following Kai and Fallon, who are characters that you've really wanted this whole series to know what's going on with them because it's clear that there's some kind of tension there and some kind of relationship involved, but they don't communicate that and they're not together because they're technically foster siblings, or I guess not foster siblings, but in a way, yes, they are. But this is an arranged marriage. So basically, Kai finds out that he has siblings, and the only way that he can get them into custody, because they were having a very horrible living situation and he wants to get them out. It's very hard as just a single man with an unsteady income to just adopt kids and to take them in. So Kai and Fallon end up getting married because Fallon is a very trusted social worker in the area. So they get married in order to be able to have those kids live with them. This was just a very beautiful story. I loved how it was done. I thought it was going to be very cheesy, but I loved how Kai built a relationship with his siblings and with Fallon at the same time, and how Fallon and Kai kind of brushed upon things in the past that caused them to not be able to be together, because this is kind of a second chance romance as well. If you have not picked up the Sparrow Falls series, I highly recommend it. It is phenomenal. Such fun small town suspense vibes. Catherine Cowles is a master at small town suspense and just romantic suspense in general. So definitely recommend this series. So that's it. That's all the books I read in October. I feel like it was a fantastic reading month. I'm currently in the middle of 3 books that I'm loving, so I feel like November is going to be phenomenal. If you've made it this far in the video, comment what your favorite holiday is towards the end of the year. So is it Halloween? Is it Thanksgiving? Is it Christmas? Let me know. I want to know which one's your favorite. And if you have a birthday this time of year, it could be that too. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next one.